Hello, in this video I'm going to teach you how to play Country Roads by Johndenver, which, by the way, I recently learned he hardly even wrote. It was mostly written by someone else and he kind of added a little bit to the middle eight, but it's his song. It's a great song either way, right? We all love it. It's kind of a classic country kind of song, but there's no banjo on it, but that doesn't mean we can't just play it on the banjo. It works really well. It's quite straightforward. What I will do is talk through it bit by bit. I'll talk about like 5 levels of country roads, not 5 levels, but a few levels of country roads, and we'll kind of like add more to it with every step of the way, right? Yeah, it's quite straightforward, and it'll also be a bit of tab. Maybe it'll show on the screen at the relevant moments, and it'll be in the description below if you want to click on that. We're not going to go through every single little detail, just a broad picture of it, and you go away and learn these bits, and then work out the exact structure of the song, you know, like how many repeats of the verse and what the lyrics are and stuff. My tab won't show all that perfectly, just the broad outline. So we're going to start straightforwardly by just learning the chords. So there's 5 chords used in this song. I guess there's kind of 6, but really 5. And we're just going to learn them one by one to start off with, and then we'll kind of progressively add each level to it. So the simplest level is just learning the chords. Cool. So I will also point out firstly that the song is in A originally. So it would be, if we were going to play it on banjo, well, you could just play it in A, I guess, with all these fingerings and stuff, but it's going to be easier for the vast majority of people to simply put capo on the 2nd fret, which makes our G chord, which is all the open strings, right? That would now be in A. It's that simple. And then we can just keep the same shape. So if you do want to play it in the original key, capo on 2nd, either tune this up, this 5th string, this high G string, tune it up to here, which would be this A note, or if you've got like a little capo, a little 5th string capo, put that on and that'll work. So you'd really get like this for the open strings. I didn't quite play that right, it's hard to reach, but it would be that, right? So we're just going to play it in G though, so I'm going to name all the chords with G and their G shape and stuff like that, but to transpose it into the key of A is really easy. If you want to play along with the original key, do that, or if that's the key that suits your voice. This is a kind of classic sing-along song, so that's what you want to be doing. Yeah, so the song uses these chords, and we'll go through them one by one. I might have to adjust the camera as we go along, but we'll see. In fact, I don't think I need to here, because you don't need to see this hand, because we're going to start by just hitting the chords one by one. So the song, as we play it, is in the key of G, so one of our chords is G. Ooh, nice, right? Just straightforward G, all the open strings. And then the next chord in the song, E minor. You probably hear the song in there already, that transition. And then we have a D chord, and I'll go through these in a bit more detail in a second. And then we have a C, and then later on in the song we have an F, which is this chord, which stands out a little bit compared to the rest. Technically kind of isn't in the key, not really important right now, to be honest. There's also a D7, and this is the way I play it. It's probably the easiest way. You can play it that way. We'll go through both when the time comes, right? That's how I like to play it. I like that voicing of the chord. There are tons of different ways to play all the chords, right? And that comes in the middle 8 as well. The F and the D7 chords come only in the middle 8 section. So, to go through these in a bit more detail, G, all our open strings, nice and easy, right? Again, I'm not showing you my right hand, you don't need to see it. E minor is this one. This is how I play it. You can play it with 1st and 2nd finger, but I play it with 2nd and 3rd fingers, so it's the 2nd fret of each of the D strings, like that. The reason I play it this way is because if you're going from E minor to C, or vice versa, right, C to E minor, which a lot of songs that use these 2 chords will do that. My default is this because it's easier to do this, right, just take that finger off and on, than it is to go from that to that. That's unnecessary effort, so that's why I default to that. But honestly, in a way, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, the next chord then is C. C's easy, yeah. So if you've got the E minor like this, you just put that finger down onto the 1st fret of the B string, and you got a nice C chord. Whee! Then we've got a D chord, which is this, right? So I'm putting my 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. Should be a tab on screen at the same time, right? Then my 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. And then this little finger is going on the 4th fret of the high D string. But honestly, if it's easier for now, if you're like an absolute beginner, right, just take that finger off, and this is good enough, right? This is like the full D major chord. This works fine. Eventually, you do want to learn the full chord, but you can start off by just keeping it nice and straightforward. and just doing it with these two fingers. So we've got these chords, right? The F chord is a bit trickier. Again, if you're a complete beginner, you're going to hate this chord. A lot of people do. They hate this chord for a while until they feel a bit more comfortable with it. And it's this. So, yeah, third finger. With every time you're learning a new chord, you kind of want to, you have to break it down finger by finger, right? Because I can do that. I can just go into an F chord, the whole shape at once, because I've played this a million times, right? You won't be able to do this. So maybe think two fingers, well, you start by doing one finger at a time, and then you want two fingers to work together, then three, and then four. Don't try to do this at first, because you're going to be all over the place, right? So third finger on the third fret of the low D string. Second finger on the second fret of the G string, the middle G string. This first finger goes on the first fret of the B string, and then this little finger goes on the third fret of the high D string. This is what you get, right? So for now, all you need to do is just hit those chords. You don't need to worry about doing dumb ditties or any like little embellishments or anything like that for now. Let's just get these chords under our fingers. Oh, and I forgot the D7. D7, we need that. Actually, we don't. That's why I said at the start that are there 5 chords or 6 chords in this song? Again, if you want to keep things really simple, when the D7 appears, you could keep it as a D and it wouldn't be a big deal. It just adds a bit more, or however we play this D7 chord, adds a bit of flavor, but it's not 100% necessary. Whereas the other chords, we do need to play them properly. So one way of playing this D7 chord is like this. This is like the default way for banjo players to learn it. And that's these two strings are open, the two D strings are open, so you don't fret them, and then your second finger on the second fret of the G string, and your first finger on the first fret of the B string, you get this. Now, that's the default way, most people do that, and there's nothing wrong with it. I prefer, most of the time, this one. For reasons I'm not going to get into now, it kind of doesn't matter. And this is a little bit more tricky, which is why you don't really need to bother with it if you don't want to. Again, it depends where you are. But it's good to get down eventually. Second finger on the 4th fret of the D string. First finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. Again, there will be a tab on screen if I've remembered to do that. I say this as much for myself when I'm editing the video to put it in as I am for you guys. And then third finger on the 5th fret of the G string. You get this. Ooh, nice. That's a D7 chord. It's not going to come up immediately. We have to get through the verse and the chorus and then into the middle 8 before the F and the D7 appear. Anyway, good. So go away, and if any of those chords are new to you, just practice them a bunch. And as I say in all my videos when I talk about chords, the way to practice chords is not to just keep your hand in it and do this. That's the F chord, right? That's not going to teach you the F chord. That's just learning how to strum. Choose 2 chords. There could be 2 new chords or a chord you already know and a new chord. Let's just go G, F, and you usually want to go, just transition between them. And however many chords you're trying to learn at once, it could be 2, 3, 4 chords, whatever, just do them in a row, one after the other. Make sure you're getting them right. And it's the changing into a chord that helps you learn a chord, not just holding it. So don't learn a chord that way. Anyway, I'm going to assume you've paused this and gone away and learned those chords a little bit. They don't need to be perfect, right? If you didn't already know them. If you do already know them, then I apologize for taking so long with this, but this is for everyone, right? Yeah, cool. So then we need to string it together in something that sounds a bit like a song. And we're not even going to go straight to dumb ditties, right? We're just going to learn how to play them in a really straightforward way where we're hitting a chord per beat to start off with, right? And I'll give you the general structure of the song, because it goes verse, 2 verses, chorus, it goes, yeah, then it's the chorus, and then it's 2 verses again, and then it's the middle 8, and then it's just outro chorus. I think that's it. I've played this live 100 times and I always forget how it goes. I just kind of remember how it goes as I'm playing it. Good, and we're just going to play to start off with literally just a downstroke per chord. A downstroke per beat for each of the chords, right? And you still don't need to see my right hand because I'm just doing downstroke, so it's fine, right? So the intro is 4 bars of G. So we're just going 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 bar, 4 beats, right? It's that 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right now it doesn't sound very interesting, but we're just trying to get the general structure of it, right? And then it goes into the verse, and it's G, 2 bars of G again. but I know it's just another 2 bars of G here, and we're going to play them the same way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But separate this in your mind from 4 bars intro, and then the verse starts. And it's, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the first 2 bars of the verse. Just 2 bars of G, and you play 1 per beat. Again, this is for like absolute beginners, right? And worth knowing, if you're going to be singing along with this, that the vocals come in on the 3rd beat. So it's 1, 2, then it goes almost heaven, which is there, right? 1, 2, and it comes in on that. So I won't subject you to my singing for this one. Maybe I will later on, we'll see. But that's it. So yeah, we're into the verse now, and it's 2 bars of G, and now we can go through it a little bit more of a pace. 2 bars of E minor, so that's 8 beats, 4 beats per bar, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 2 bars of D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1 bar of C, so that's just 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 bar of G, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, it's 2 bars of G there, and then it goes back into the verse. Again, the exact structure of it, look at my tab for this, or just go away and work it out yourself. It's not mega hard, but I don't want to spend too much time on every single little detail in this video. So that's the verse. The chorus just rearranges the same chords. What we'll do here is we'll go through verse and chorus in this simple, super simple way, and then we'll go from the top again, just adding in dumb ditties, and then we'll think about embellishments, and then the middle 8 we'll do separately at the end because it's a little bit different. Not very hard, but it's a little bit different. So let's move into the chorus. Kind of the same chords, but in a slightly different order. So the verse, just a brief recap, 2 bars of G, 2 bars of E minor, 2 bars of D, 1 bar of C, and then 2 bars of G, and then it kind of repeats. 1 bar of G, and then it repeats, yeah. Whereas the chorus goes G, 2 bars still, then instead of going to E minor, so it goes G, then D instead of E minor. So 2 bars of G, 2 bars of D. Then we go to E minor for 2 bars. So the D and the E minor switch around for the chorus. And then we go to C for 2 bars, and then we repeat that. And then on the repeat, this time it goes G, 2 bars again, D, 2 bars again. Then there's no E minor, it goes to C for 2 bars, and then G for 2 bars. Again, for the exact structure, the reason I'm telling you to go away and kind of work it out yourself, right, is because A, I don't want to spend loads of time on every single tiny little detail, and B, because it will actually help you. If you just go by, it's like always going by tab or something like that. Sometimes you need to just listen to the song and try to work it out for yourself. So trust me, long term, it will help you if I don't go into every single bit of minutia. It's better to just kind of give you the broad outline and how to approach the song. So generally, right, the verse is G, E minor, D, C, right? You work out the exact structure. Then the chorus is G, D, E minor, C, slightly different. And then the chorus repeats. The verse does that as well, by the way. It's 2 of the verse and then 2 of the chorus. And it is slightly different the second time around in the chorus again, but don't just go off what I'm saying right now. Go away and listen to it, work it out, or at least go by the tab that I'm linking below that will briefly outline it for you. So if we're just going by the way I've told you how to do it so far, this is how it's going to sound, right? And it's not that interesting. It's just kind of hacking away 1 chord per beat. Not the most interesting thing in the world, but if you just learn the chords and the structure of the song, this is the way to do it, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then E minor, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then D, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, and then repeat. That's the verse. That's about the right tempo of the song, by the way. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about that tempo. And then the chorus, quite similar, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, E minor, 2, 3, 4, E minor, 2, 3, 4, then C, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, and then we repeat that. This doesn't sound that interesting, but it's just a good way to get it under your fingers a little bit. Yeah, we'll look at the middle 8 in a bit, as I said before. What you would want to do to get the feel of the song, to get that kind of country kind of stomping sound to it, is not just hit a chord per beat. There's no dynamics, there's nothing musically interesting about what we just did. It's just a good way to understand which chords go where and to get the chord transition down if you're a complete beginner. Eventually, well, not eventually, because there's no limit to what you can do, right, with it. Tons of embellishments we can add, we can incorporate the melody into it, but the next step would be dumb ditties. Now, if you don't have dumb ditties, if you've never played dumb ditties again, or this is the first tune where you're really incorporating them and you have practiced them a bit, this will really tighten them up, because now we're doing dumb ditties in the context of a song, and we're transitioning chords, right? So a dumb ditty is just, and I'm just going to go through it briefly in this video. I have another video on my channel where I go into a bit more detail. Middle, all pluck, low string, all pluck. And here you could see my right hand. I'll just do it a little bit more, right? Middle string, all pluck, low string, all pluck. And the count of this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how we're counting it for this song, right? So before we would go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we want to do it, we're still trying to retain that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2 bars per chord, generally speaking, throughout the song. So before the verse started like this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But now we'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. If this is new to you and you've not really incorporated dumb ditties into like a tune like this before, it's a great place to practice it, right? Go away and do this through the structure of the song and just get the chord transitions down. Again, if you're a complete beginner, you don't even need to worry too much about the exact structure of the song. Just have the chords maybe written on a piece of post-it note or something in front of you and just write G, E minor, D, C, and maybe 2 bars of each to start off with, and just get the transitions down. That's not quite exactly how the song goes, and that would be ignoring the rest of it, the middle 8 and the chorus and stuff, but just getting the transitions down will help you massively. As long as you're being consistent with the rhythm. We don't want like speeding up, slowing down, and pauses all over the place. You will do that a little bit first, but you want to get through that until it's just, even if it's not full tempo of the song, right? If it's slow but even, slow but even is perfectly fine. And then make sure you're not pausing. Well, you want to get to the point where you're not just going like where you have to think too much about the next chord, where your brain has to do that processing. That's the point of practicing, right? You want to practice to the point where you're not going, oh, where's this note, where's this chord? It just kind of happens because you know where it is. This is a great place to practice that. And then get the structure down. Again, you can either just listen to the song, just keep in mind that you want to be capoed on the 2nd fret, or just look at the tab I have. But listening to the song and working out the structure for yourself will be the best thing, because it will train your ear and blah, 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 all this stuff, which is really useful. Your general musicianship will improve more if you do that than just go for what I'm saying. If you really want to do it to the best of your ability, like, you just wouldn't watch this video and you would learn it all by ear yourself, but I understand that there's a balance. Anyway, and then the same approach with the chorus, which is just slightly different order. G, D, E minor, C this time, so it would be, I'm being a bit sloppy here just to show that it doesn't really matter, you know. If I hit the wrong string sometimes, it's not a big deal. G, 1, 2, 3, 4, then D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, then E minor, then C. Then we repeat that. The second repetition is ever so slightly different, but not massively. Yeah, very nice, good. If you work through that, you'll start to really sound a lot better. If you're at the point where you want to learn like a full tune, you've not done it before, again, this is just a great tune to do it, because the chords are quite simple, the rhythm's quite straightforward. You have to work out the structure a bit, because I'm not giving it to you completely, but even that shouldn't be too hard for you. And if you do struggle with it, it's a good struggle, like it's a good thing to work through. We'll come back to this in a bit and think about some embellishments that we could add, because there's tons that we could, but we want to keep it relatively straightforward for now, and that'll be like the next final level for you, right? There is no final level really. You can get as wacky as you want, but we're going to keep it relatively simple and stop at some simple embellishments. We'll look at the middle 8 now, and this is where 2 new chords appear, because so far it's just been G, D, E minor, and C, just in slightly different order for the verse compared to the chorus. Now we are going to add in 2 new chords, right? So middle 8 starts on an E minor. Now for this, I wouldn't dumb ditty through it. It sounds a bit more, this is personal taste, you could. I like to do this. just this kind of, like, you know, you hear this like a rake where I'm going through the strings for dramatic effect. But you could, you know, it's only a beat of 4 actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could do that, but I think the song wants you to play it slightly different for like a different feel. So we'll talk about this in a second. The chords here, and I'll again just lay out the order of them, and this is what you can play first, and then we'll get the beat and the exact structure right. E minor, then D, then we go to G, then C, right? Again, this will be on screen. Write down, it'll probably help you to do that as well. We'll go to C, then G, then D. Then we go E minor, F, G, D, and then we go to D7, like that. Or this D7, which is the one I prefer. Slightly spicier, got different notes in it in a different order. So just go through that briefly again for you. E minor, D, G, C, G, D. Then we go E minor, F, C, G, D, then D7. And then that brings you back into the chorus, which I'm not going to go through again. Again, work out the structure yourself. It will be really helpful for you to do that. Good. So just learn those chords one by one. Again, it's just good to learn the transitions. If you want to learn them with dumb ditties, that's good practice as well. But this is how I would play it. This is how I play it when I've played it like at open mic nights or something like that. Play this chord, and it's 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, then another bar, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, right? E, 2, 3, 4, F, C, and these are just, they're all a bar. Some of them are 2 bars. So the G, the first G in this middle 8 was 2 bars, etc. Again, your best shout is going to either be working it out yourself to get the structure down, or just look at the tab I have. I'm not going to go into loads of detail now. But at the very least, everything is held for 4 beats, that's 1 bar, or for 2 bars, which is 8 beats, right? So yeah, if I just do it again very briefly. Right, let's go through it again, and I won't stop halfway through this time. I'll give you the count on the chords and stuff. We start on the E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. Then E minor again. F, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, then D7, D7, and then it would go into Country Roads, Take Me Home again. If you need to, just go back and watch that again, or just check out what I wrote in a tab or work it out yourself. I'm being very repetitive here, I know. But you'll get that. It's quite simple. I think the transition, for a beginner, the transition from E minor to F is probably the trickiest thing there in that middle 8. But you'll get it. It's not played too fast, and we're just playing a chord per bar. So 1 chord will last 4 beats throughout that middle 8, and it's relatively straightforward thanks to that. Let's go back now, maybe not right to the start, but talk about a general approach that can take you to the next level with this tune and all tunes really. And it's just, I think of them as just adding embellishments, but eventually it could be incorporating the entire melody into it if you want, but we won't cover that here. We'll just talk about adding embellishments. And this is where like banjo starts to sound like a banjo, right? Because even this, nothing wrong with that, it sounds good, but you know, listen to this. Very simple little embellishments. I've barely added anything, but suddenly it sounds like a proper banjo because I'm just adding these little hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides. So we could just do something as simple as this, right? Relatively straightforward. I'm not going to break down every single little bit I did there. I just want to kind of signpost you towards some things you can do. And this 100% is something you just need to go away and like noodle with, practice with, work out where you can fit in these little twiddly bits right here and there. rather than me lay out or play this exactly this way, because I would play that, you know, different every time, you know. These little is a bit different to. There are just tons of options, and it's pointless me going through like a specific one or two. Well, I will go through a specific one or two, but it's pointless me teaching you an exact way to play this tune rather than you learning how to approach it yourself. So I'm teaching a general approach here. This is like the next step of country roads, right? Or any tune. It could be any tune that you've learned, right? So we'll look at it mainly on G, right? And I think I've covered this in other videos I've done before, but these are just like little embellishments. We've got dumb ditties, right? And you just want to add in little pull-offs or hammer-ons in places where they fit without disturbing the rhythm, right? So a good one might be so that's just a normal dumb ditty, middle, all pluck, and then when you hit that low D string, this time hammer on. That's what we're doing. We're just adding a hammer on and then hitting all pluck. When you hit all the strings, by the way, make sure this finger's off. So we'll go through it again. Middle, all pluck, normal dumb ditty as it was before. Then you hit the low D string, low D string, and then hammer onto the second fret, and then hit all pluck. When you do like an embellishment like this, it's really important that when you hit, and then you do that hammer on, or maybe to pull off whatever, right? That this hand comes up at the same time as that. You don't want that thumb to linger. It needs to be up again. So it's hit, hammer, and at the same time you hammer on, this hand comes up. This hand needs to almost always go up and down. We don't want this like lingering thumb unless it's like a specific piece that requires that, which may never come up for you, right? But it sometimes comes up in obscure things, right? So we're doing this, right? This is what you could just repeat this little embellishment, right, until you get it down. And again, it's really important that when you hit all the strings doing that second all string downstroke, that this finger is off. You don't want this. Because that now, when you hit that with that first finger down on that second fret of the low D string, this is now an E minor 7 chord, which is a nice chord. It's a nice chord. I shouldn't make that face. It is a nice chord, but it's just not what we want at this point. So make sure that second all string strike, that finger's off. If these embellishments are new to you, by the way, then it's worth just picking this one or a different one maybe and just repeating it loads until you get it down like nice and confident, rhythmically even. We don't want this, right? Well, maybe we do. I'm just swinging it there. We might want that eventually, but not right now. You need to learn how to control it, and then you can choose eventually to swing it or not. This whole song can be played swung, but it's not the default. And if you're going to play it swung, you need to be making sure that you're in control and you're doing it purposely, right? So that's like a standard little embellishment. Sounds good, right? Other ones, and we'll go through these maybe a bit more quickly. Start on the second. This is like a Cripple Creek one. It's in Cripple Creek. So start on the second fret for this first downstroke, that middle string downstroke, and then hammer onto the 4th fret, and then all pluck, right? Here you can kind of keep your finger on or take it off. It's up to you. So you get this. Just repeat that load. 2nd fret of the G, middle G, downstroke, hammer on, all pluck. And again, when I'm doing that hammer on, when that hammer on comes down on my left hand, this right hand is coming up at the same time. Like that. So if I combine those two that we just did, you get this. You don't need to fill every single space and every single beat with an embellishment. In fact, I would say don't do that. That's overkill. But when you're practicing them, it is good to maybe pick one or two and just do them on repeat. But there's technically like no limit to where you can do it. Like you can, because there's chords up and down all over the neck, right? We can play these embellishments and different embellishments wherever we like. So there is no limit really. You know, we can kind of. So we're just talking about this, the relatively straightforward ones. Here, it's just like they just add up more and more, and there's tons of different changes we can make to them, but we want to keep it simple to start off with. Yeah, so when you're on like a fretted chord, that G's not fretted, right? Nothing on the fret. Then the easiest ones to add in are just one where you're hammering onto a chord note. So let's just look at E minor. We'll look at E minor, right? You'd hit the low open D string, right, and then hammer onto that. Now you're in the proper chord position. This is not quite the chord position because his finger's not down, but you hammer on and then hold it and then all pluck, so you get this. low open D string, hammer on, all pluck. So this is, you hear that loads in this kind of music, right? Again, just practice that in isolation. So if I just play the verse a little bit to just demonstrate like how these end up sounding together, and I'll keep it simple again. You know, we get this kind of, in a way, you don't need to think about them like that. That's kind of just me hitting them arbitrarily. Eventually, you do want to do it in a way they kind of, yeah, you don't want to overdo it, and ones that fit, you can play a bit more melodically. But the beauty of it is that once you know where the right notes are, which takes a little while, you can just kind of mash them and just anything sounds. I don't know. It's just any old stuff kind of works as long as you're hitting the right notes and you're in time. Yeah, a big tip, I'll briefly mention this, of like, well, the way to know which notes fit ultimately comes down to chords and scales, which I can't really get into loads of detail here, but whenever you hit all the strings, make sure your fingers are in the chord shape, right? So this is my general advice, right? So if you're in a D, you can start with these fingers off if you really want to and just like hammer onto the whole chord. That works. But when you do the all string strike, make sure you're in the position to, you don't want a non-chord note on that strike, because that'll sound weird. If you did this, that's no longer a D, even though you started in a D shape. That's not a D anymore, it's a G really. Or as I said before, if you do this on the G chord, because you've kept that finger on, that's not in the G chord, and you've changed the chord now. But yeah, if you go away, and I'll do a video on this maybe at some point, on the G major chord in particular. If you go away and learn the G major chord, those are the notes that are going to work for like little hammer-ons and little embellishments. And that's the way you do it, really. Like eventually you can even choose notes outside the key in it. These notes, you know, that one sounded sloppy. But it would be that, right? And it, you know, there's tons of options. I'm being quite sloppy here just to demonstrate the fact that loads of things will work. Eventually you can add non-chord notes in, but we don't want to worry about them right now. Maybe this video's been a bit messy, I don't know. I've gone through it in enough detail though that I think you can go away and learn it. At the end of the day, what I think is likely to happen for someone learning this song is that you get the chords down, you can do dum ditty, maybe a few embellishments. You probably don't really, if you just like, you know, if it's like a campfire sing-along kind of approach, you're probably not going to get the exact structure of the song exactly right in terms of like, oh, how many bars of this and this, especially on the like the transition from the verse into the chorus, because it feels a bit inconsistent sometimes. If it's just you playing it, you don't need to nail them perfectly as it is in the recording. Learn the general, oh, this is the verse, this is the chorus, and then the middle eight, and you'll be perfectly fine. Dum ditty your way through it, and then add these little embellishments in bit by bit. So we've kind of got a few levels there. Let's just do a brief recap, right? We just learned the chords one by one, and there's a G, E minor, D, or proper D, but you know, this little finger's optional, C, and then, so that's the verse and the chorus just use those chords. Then the middle eight, when it comes, also uses an F. This is the F here, and then a D7, either this one or this one. And that's it, that's all the chords. So you just want to learn them first. And then you can go through it just playing a chord per beat through each section, you know, so the verse sounds like this. Not super interesting, not very musical, but if you're a complete beginner, that's a good way to start. And then, hey, we can do dum ditties, right? Sounds better already, it starts to sound a bit musical, right? Then you can learn the structure of each bit individually on that, right? But the next step, if you want to take it to the next step, would just be these little embellishments, you know? Oh, I did a little spicy note in there. It's not that spicy, it's just like a little bluesy thing. Again, you'll learn how to do this step by step. If you really want to know what note I put in there, just ask in the comments and I'll tell you. It's quite simple, really. But you can see how it happens progressively, right? You learn one level of it, the next level of it, and each step of the way gets a little bit more difficult, but hopefully not insurmountably so. Yeah, and you want to learn these little techniques one by one. So dum ditty is a separate thing, really, that you need to spend a bit of time on by itself, and these embellishments also a separate thing. Hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides. Each thing is an individual thing that you want to isolate and practice by itself so that you can kind of get good enough that you can incorporate it into the whole. And I've zipped through this relatively quickly, but probably still more detail than most people would do, because I realize that if you're a complete beginner, you need this kind of level of excruciating detail to really help you along. It's just the reality of it, right? Everyone who's any good at an instrument has just spent time going through things in excruciating detail, right? You know, when I first started off, I remember I started on bass, having to learn like where to put my hand, and everything feels alien. So although it's not loads of detail, I've not laid out exactly how to play everything. I think I've laid out enough for you to go away and try it yourself, give it a go. If there's any questions, put them in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. But yeah, I'll see you around. Good luck practicing.